All right, everyone, welcome. It's Thursday afternoon, Start, Grow, Manage. I don't know what we're calling this now, lunch and learn or podcast or all of the above. But we're here to support MSPs in their journey to become stronger businesses and grow. And today I am here with Peyton Sadler from ECX, and
Hi.
we're going to chat a little bit about what ECX does, and before we get there, we have just to remind everybody, ECX is a sponsor of our uh, training day, which is coming up on February 27th. So I want to encourage everybody to go and register for that now. We will be doing it live in White Plains, but if you can't make it, that's fine. Just register, and we'll send you the recordings. And one of the people who will be there supporting us is Peyton. So welcome, Peyton. It is a joy to have you here. Tell us a little about yourself.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, so I do business development for ECXSystems. It's a fancy way of saying my job is to meet people and hear about their business and engage with them and learn what it is that makes them tick and why they may need some higher level IT and anything along those lines. So it's pretty simple, but I really enjoy it. So and I
Now,
was there I think for the August event for Start Grow Manage and really excited to be there in February.
yeah, you came to our planning summit, which was great
Yeah.
fun in August, and so we were excited to have you, and a lot of our MSPs really appreciated the opportunity to meet you as well, and had
Oh
great
yeah.
things to say about your services. So let us know. So and on that, tell us what is the problem that ECX solves for MSPs?
Sure. I think the problem it folds out in different ways. So with MSPs, a lot of times you are trying to take care of your direct clients. And that puts you in a position where you are taking care of their day to day, putting out fires, making sure everything is plugged in, making sure everything's working, that the business is shutting down. But a lot of times there's another set of business issues, the cybersecurity, the compliance, the modernization, stuff that takes that forward looking, that insight that a lot of times the people you have on staff, a lot of times it's the owner who is that level 3 engineer, or maybe you have one, maybe two really high level guys that you can depend on. The problem with that is most of the time they're there taking care of your escalations. And so you get siloed into this position where, yes, you can help with the day to day, but
Hmm.
that whole other aspect of securing that business and making sure long term, it kind of gets left behind. So what we do at ECX is I've got a team of, like I said, those level 3 engineers. I've got a couple architect engineers, and we train them up in a way where we call it advanced generalists. They're holistic. Think of it like an IT director, where they don't just think about the network. They don't just think about the cloud. They think about everything and how it comes together. And so sometimes I partner with a business directly doing fully managed. Sometimes I partner with IT directors doing IT for IT. But a lot of times, what I do most of the time is I partner with other MSPs and give them that same IT for IT model. So if you run into a bandwidth issue or you run into a skill gap issue, maybe you want to do an update and you did it a year ago and Microsoft changed all of the details. All of a sudden, you have to relearn something to get back into it. We bring a different level of experience so we can say, hey, this is the direction you need to go, but also give you a hand in implementing itself with hours. Another thing we like to do. And Jeff, I don't know, I think you had some questions about Rocket Chat. Another
Well,
thing we like,
so
yeah,
before we even get there, so this is you're providing that, so it's at that level three engineering, architecting capability,
mm-hmm.
and you're doing it sort of in a fractional way, and providing some of that education and that experience to the MSPs, right?
Correct. Because a lot of times,
So,
well, go ahead.
well, I was going to say, so I think one of the things that we have heard in the Start Pro Manage ecosystem, the rumor mill is that
Hmm.
there is this rocket chat that you guys use, which people seem to really love. That's all
Yeah.
about like it, and it's sort of included with the subscription to a number of hours, and it sounds like it's a great way to get information and get problems solved quickly. So just let everybody know what
Yeah.
Rocket Chat is,
Yeah.
and I actually don't know, so I'm interested to
Okay.
hear what you say.
Well, that's perfect. Yeah, the Rocket Chat. I know it's easy for the business dev guy to say like this is my favorite part, but like this is genuinely like one of the coolest parts of the package for me. Is it's think of it like Slack, but it's all secure. It's hosted secure, and so on the very baseline, it gives you an opportunity. You can send passwords back and forth. But how we utilize it is when you have a subscription package, whether that's quarterly, monthly, the details are the details. It gives you an opportunity to be able to reach out to an engineer, those level 3, those architect engineers. So if you're stuck in a position where you're locked in a server closet and something's come up and you don't know what you're looking at, hit them up real quick. They'll take care of it. Or you have a question, maybe you're on a call with someone, you can hit us up on Rocket Chat real quick and they'll get back with you. And it doesn't go against those fractional hours like we talk about. It doesn't go against those hours unless we're putting fingers to keyboard, unless we're putting into work. So it's a way for you to pull from that knowledge base in a real-time thing. I have a real situation where we had an MSP that we were working with, and due to budget cuts or something along those lines, it was one of those things where they were trying to limit who they worked for. And so they stopped working for us for a couple months. And they ended up coming back because the engineers were beating the table saying, we need Rocket Chat. No matter what, Rocket Chat is the thing that we don't, that resource pool, we need that. So it's a really great opportunity. And also, even on a personal level, all of my engineers are real good people. And so I have people that I've worked with before that, want a one-time project, and they'll come back and say, hey, tell Nathan I said hi or something along those lines, just because
Yeah.
of those relationships we built up in Rocket Chat. So
No,
it's
I
fun.
think that's brilliant, and I have heard. It is great to have that resource available. You can reach out to
It is.
somebody with that level 3 expertise, with that experience. And one of the things that that we always advocate is standardizing your business and standardizing the way that you're delivering your services to your clients, and that by doing that, you actually make it easier for
Mm-hmm.
for your team to deliver, which means that you can actually use more level 1 resources, maybe level 2 resources, and hire less level 3 resources. And so, but you're going to need them from time to time, and that
Of
seems to be
course.
where people are really relying on ECX to come back and say, hey, I don't want to hire a full-time level 3, but I need those expertise from time to time, and so we can bring in ECX, have the Rocket Chat, have the level 3 support, and that seems to work really well. So anyway, we've gotten great
Yeah.
feedback, so it's great to hear.
And that's great
Um,
to hear as well.
but you do more but one of the things we wanted to talk about was really trends in the market. So you were talking about how you lead some of these workshops and talk to people about sort of what's going on in the MSP space and how
Mm-hmm.
it's evolving. And so I'd really be interested in some of your thoughts on how the MSP world is evolving, and where it's going, and what trends are out there that you see.
Sure. And it's really interesting. Part of our marketing strategy, and I know Start Grow Manage, it's very value-based marketing. I think our take on it is we do a lot of education. So oh yeah, Joe, that's a good point, that a lot of times it comes with onboarding as well, that if you need a quick onboarding, you can use those hours so that we can get everything situated for you. But with this marketing, what we do is we educate. So I am talking to businesses, I am talking to CEOs, I am talking to IT directors, I am talking to MSPs once or twice a day, almost every day. And so getting a lay of the land of what are the issues that they're seeing, and then bringing up what we're seeing. And I think one of the big problems that I'm seeing with MSPs and businesses is this lack of education, especially where cybersecurity is concerned, and how much of the world has changed around it. I mean, 5 years ago, and we know a lot of this because a lot of us on here are engineers. I'm not an
Mm,
engineer, but a lot of us
yeah.
on here are engineers. 5 years ago, the industry was mainly state actors and state actors. It was Russia and Ukraine, it was Brazil and whoever, it was America and China going back and forth, getting information, power grids, all that kind of stuff. So all the focus was not on these small businesses. What's changed is that this has shifted to organized crime, almost like a
Yeah.
mafia type situation. So I'm sure we'll talk about this at the cybersecurity conference, but it's become a situation where there are these companies and they hire people and they have subscription services where they get passwords off the black market. And it creates two things. One, it's a $1 trillion industry. And so there's a
Yeah.
lot of money being pulled into this. And two, a lot of these small businesses, a lot of these people, your mom and pop shop, the dentist office you're working with, the golf course you're working with, all of a sudden they've become targets where they
Yeah.
weren't before. And so, yeah.
And I think there is a feeling among small businesses that I'm not a target,
Yes.
and amongst a lot of our clients, a lot of our MSP clients, there's still that latent belief that nobody's going to come after me because I'm small. Why would anybody care about me? And one of the
Yep.
things that we've learned through working with CISA, through having these threat updates like we will have on February 27th, is how broad based this is, and how the since small businesses have kind of been taking their eye off the ball or not taking it seriously, they become the weak point in the chain, right? So it sort of reminds
Hmm.
me. I don't know if you remember that story around somebody uh, breaking into a casino through the HVAC system.
Oh no, I hadn't heard that one.
I think I think it was a casino, and or it might have been Target. I don't know. Like there are a couple of
Sure.
these, and they got in through a thermostat or through the HVAC system, and the HVAC system hadn't been properly updated, and so as a result, they were actually able to get into the network through that. And
Right.
and I sort of think that small businesses now are the equivalent to the HVAC system, because you have
Right.
all of this access to your
I
client
like that a
data,
lot.
to all of the bank accounts, like accountants, the bank accounts. So you have all of this access. So you are sort of the vulnerable spot that
Hmm.
everybody is trying to attack in order to get um, into your clients' businesses, right? And I think I'm sort of hearing that in what you're saying, and it sounds like that's one of the big changes that has come to the market.
Yeah, and I think it's just the amount of money being poured into it, the focus that's been put on it, and I'll do you one more. The focus is now kind of changed from preventative to responsive. And like a good analogy I like to tell is I used to certify lifeguards. It's something I really enjoyed doing. Is my first business is I started at 19. It's just a fun time. And you can do things to prevent something. You can make sure kids do a swim test. You can make sure they walk. You can make sure the parents are around when possible. Just like we can set up firewalls, just like we can
Yeah.
have some of these software in place. But at some point, the kid will go in the water. And you have to have a response plan in place to take care of it. And that's the main thing that I think these MSPs haven't grasped and these businesses haven't grasped until the day I'm running a workshop and they tell me, we got hit and our MSP did not warn us. And I'm looking for other people now. I mean, that is a real critical situation.
So yeah, but let's talk about that, right? Because I think that the MSPs are pretty clear that there's an issue. But
Hmm.
I think what you just said is sort of the biggest problem is we got hit and our MSP didn't warn us.
Hmm.
And I think one of the things that we see, I don't know if this is a trend, but certainly one of the facts that we see is that MSPs aren't communicating enough with their clients. Is that something that,
Hmm.
that you're seeing as well in your engagement
Oh
with
yeah.
people?
Oh yeah. That's just been not even from talking to our clients and their former stuff, because I mean that's one of the reasons they've come over to us, because we have account managers in place. I have account managers for MSPs, and then I also have technical account managers for a TAM. So we have
Hmm.
people giving them reports. We have people going back to them. But yeah, in my workshop, that's a huge deal where they're furiously writing down notes. I'm sending them checklists. I'm telling them, talk to your MSP, because either they know about this and they're scared to ask for the buy, which is a real thing. I understand it's hard to go to your company and say, hey, you know, there's this. Can we also add more money to it? But you got to frame the situation. You have to frame the story to them. Or the other thing that is that the MSP isn't prepared. I think a lot of us here know the issues. I think a lot of us are aware of it. So even if you can take some time and do something like these workshops where maybe it's not a sales meeting, but you sit down and say, hey, here's what we're seeing. You know,
Yeah.
here's what we're seeing, and this is where our concerns are. And here's some solutions that, when you're interested, we can go over. Maybe we want to look into an XDR, something that can, I had one situation where we had someone we referred to, where there was a CEO and the kid brought an iPad. The iPad had some illicit material and a virus on it. They connected to the network, shut the whole thing down, and they didn't have an XDR and MDR in place to make sure that wasn't prevented. You can go to your clients with these kind of stories and say, we are concerned about this happening to you because you have trusted us with your IT. You've trusted us to take care of you. And that trust is something we don't want to break. So that's, I think that goes to your
Yeah,
question.
no, I think, I like, the idea of telling them stories. I think that being able to go in and communicate with the clients, telling the clients stories, telling them what's up. This is actually something we talked about in October with CISA, and we
Really?
have in our community we have trainings for how to use CISA templates. CISA has some amazing resources, by the way,
Good.
templates that you can use to conduct workshops with your clients. And we'll put a link in the show notes, or shoot us a comment, and we can give you access to that. It's free. It's in our community, and they show you actually how to have some of these tabletop conversations with your clients. And you're right that, like Joe is saying, they're either not communicating enough, or they do talk a little bit too much XDR,
Yeah.
and a little bit too much firewall, and the client doesn't understand it. But when you can show them where the opportunities are, or where the opportunities are, where the risks are, where the vulnerabilities are, I think
Hmm.
that's actually really powerful. And you mentioned this, it's hard to ask for the buy, and
Hmm.
I think it can be hard to ask for the buy. I also find that when you're educating, when you are helping them understand what is happening in the world, the asking for the buy becomes less of a big deal because they
Hmm.
understand why this matters to them. When you
Yes.
can go to a small business, you can go to an accountant and say, "Look, these are your plain text passwords that we found on the dark web," and they
Right.
realize that is connected to all of their client accounts, and they start to see how this is impacting them. Um, then you are putting the sale within the context of the value. This is
Hmm.
how we're going to transform your business. This is how we're going to make it work for you. So I think this idea of workshops and talking about what's happening, is a crucial way to make asking for the buy easier, because you're not just going in and saying, "I want to buy, I want to buy, I want to buy."
Here's this,
Um,
here's this, here's
yeah,
this, and try not to squint too hard at our little profit margin that we get off of it. That's not the mission. You're here to take care of your clients. You're here to be a business partner with them. And these conversations, you have them with cybersecurity, you have them with modernization, you have these conversations all the time. It's just time to bring that cybersecurity conversation to the forefront. And again, I mentioned it before, the big distinction that has helped me on this is just framing the difference between preventative and response based, and why
mm.
that's become a difference. That's the story. That's the hook. Hey,
Well,
I yeah,
again, in terms of making the ask for the buy easier, it's a lot less expensive to prevent than it is to remediate.
I'll tell you what, this software right here is a lot cheaper than not having your hospital up for 2 days. Like
Yeah,
that's and not even including the PR that goes along with that. Or the HIPAA lawsuits if you're in medical, anything along those lines. I'm in a lot of different industries, so that's a
yeah.
lot of different stuff in that
So
regard.
what
So
else are you seeing aside from cybersecurity? I'm just interested in what other trends, what other developments. Does anything come to mind in terms of just as you're talking to MSPs, as you're talking to industry experts, and technology? Are there any nuggets in there that we might be able to support our MSPs with?
yeah, I'm trying to think through some topics. I'll say most of my stuff has to do with cybersecurity and modernization because it's a good marketing tool. It's something
Yeah.
that people are looking for and discussing. And, from there, it breaks
Well,
down
so,
some of the
so let's
projects.
let's
So,
not
yeah.
to interrupt you, but let's chat a little bit about modernization. So I think one of the challenges that we find with the modernization, conversation is that, people just, there's a reluctance to spend money. There's a reluctance to say, hey, you kind of need new stuff. Um,
Yes.
actually, this is an aside. It's totally unrelated, but
Oh yeah.
I was watching a television show last night, and there was this part where they were going into the records department, and they did a search in the database, right? And the screen comes up, and there's the progress monitor, and it takes like 30 seconds to go to the next
Mm-hmm.
bar, and then the next bar. And the guy says, well, this computer was made in 1996. And I thought that was really funny. But
But it's a
but uh,
perfect tee up, you know?
but
You
but
you
it
talk
is right. Like, it's just this idea around it. It's on one hand, modernization sounds like, oh, it's just money going out the door, but there are real advantages. So
hmm
talk a little bit about that in your experience with just selling modernization.
Well, I think with modernization, some of it is that cybersecurity, like we need to make sure you're protected. Some of it is that compliance of, hey, HIPAA's pretty serious on this. You might listen to what they have to say so you don't get smacked with a stick. The other side is lost time. That's the main thing. If people are taking 15 minutes to log into something or their database is taking too long to load, that is lost time, especially if you're paying someone on an hourly basis. There's other modernization things too, like you bring up a Google API where you can automate tasks, and that might cost a little bit money up front. But what it's going to do in the long term is you're not putting monetary resources into loading up each laptop and making sure that each goes forward.
Right.
And so
Right.
it's finding the places to save time and while also achieving these other goals. So,
So, one of our theories is that the idea of a managed service provider is actually out of date, and we kind of think that the concept of the managed service provider is dying. And
I'm
the
curious.
reason is,
Yep. I'm curious on this. I
go
like
ahead. No,
this.
ask your question.
No. I'm saying I'm curious. I like this. I like
Well,
this
so
thesis.
so so the reason for this is that managed services is so intent on delivering IT service, right? And
Okay.
and and uh, and people don't really care about that anymore. At the same time, the market for helping me with my technology is growing like crazy. And I
Mm,
think when you talk about this idea of, using those APIs to streamline the way that I'm working, is a perfect example of what we're calling like business solution provision, right? So you become a
I like
business solution
that.
provider. So instead of
Yes.
like just managing the IT, you're going in and saying, okay, what are the issues with your business? Where are the areas of inefficiency? Where are the areas of problems? And then how can I then improve that one way or the other? And that ties back to the modernization. It ties back to connecting the APIs, because if you're working for an industry, you really know what their challenges are. You can develop some of these ways to support them. And then when you are having the modernization conversation, instead of saying, hey, I want you to spend $140,000 on new hardware, you can say, look, we have an opportunity to add $1 million to the bottom line. We are going to have to spend $140,000 to get new hardware, and maybe another $50,000 to build these connections. But this is the result that we expect from that. And
Yes.
now all of a sudden you're just having a beautiful conversation around providing business solutions, and using that technical capability to improve and enhance businesses.
And I think it goes back to that same thing that we've talked about is what is the story you're trying to tell somebody? What is the end result? Why do they care? I'm not technical, but I know that it's important for A, B, C, and D to happen. I'm not going to
Hmm.
get in there and do it myself. Your customer is not technical. They do not care how you get
Right.
from A to B to C to D. They care how it ends, why it
they,
ends, and why it
they
affects
they
them.
care that you get to D.
Yes, exactly,
The middle
exactly.
part is my value in IT has always been turning the technical into the business, and helping businesses understand
hmm
why they need this. And I just think this is the opportunity for MSPs to step into
I,
that space. And
I agree.
it's not even that hard. Like, you don't have to know everything, but like, I love your example of, you have this, a couple of APIs that you can use to streamline something, and you build a couple of those scripts in a way that people hadn't imagined before, and you are adding real value to these businesses.
And I'll do a shameless plug right there. That's another thing that I do for you. You said you don't have to know everything. My team does. That's what we bring to the table. So if you're having a meeting with your clients, we'll hop on the meetings. We can either say, hey, we're part of so and so MSP, part of so and so business solution provider, or you can say this is our this is our escalation team or something along those lines. And we can have those conversations so the bench raises on what we can talk about and the experience raises on what we can talk about. I think another thing too is making sure that you're having a consistent relationship built up. I don't know what the start, grow, manage model is, but for us, what we do is that everybody gets, always start with the business outcome, but for what we do, everybody gets an hour with our chief architect, and they can have that time to do A or B. We can talk tech talk. If I'm talking to an IT director, they're getting in the nitty gritty. It's great stuff. If it's a CEO, you know what they're talking about? Hey, we're planning on hiring 20 people next month. What does that mean for us?
Right.
Okay,
Right.
let's talk CEO to CEO. The rocket chat's another good way because people can communicate. So there's the macro level of having those big discussions, but there's also the micro level of building a trusting relationship because it's a business partnership at the end of the
Right.
day.
Well,
So,
and that's why we advocate for the idea of a strategic business review, right? So I don't want
okay,
you to do a technical business review. I want you to go in and do a strategic business review, because you want to identify and understand those uh, those challenges. Like, you've got to know that they're planning on hiring 20 people, so that
yes.
you can provide the infrastructure efficiently, uh, and you can tell them, this is how we're going to do it. It's the timeline. We're going to make this smooth and easy, and the experience for a client when you make that smooth and easy for them
hmm
is incredibly valuable, because they
Well,
just
and I'll make
see you as a real partner, rather than just that technical person who comes in and talks
rather
XPS.
than a sunken cost, rather than
Yep.
a sunken cost. So, and
Yep.
I'll tell you, make your life a lot easier too if you're not getting a phone call at 9 a.m. on a Monday. Hey, we need 20 laptops. Can you get them
Yeah,
sent over
tomorrow,
real quick?
right?
Yeah, yeah, which puts more
We just
strain on
hired
your
all these
staff.
people on Friday. We've
Well,
been
thanks,
planning it for
Bob.
3 months, but we didn't bother to tell you. And
Right.
and now all of a sudden it's a done deal, and you got to deliver the laptop tomorrow.
And that comes with the small things, and it comes with the reviews. And that's when I'm talking with a workshop, that's a big thing of what's disappointing is the amount of times I talk to someone, a CEO or a practice administrator, and I say, what is your MSP? And they say, I don't know. That is scary. If
Mm.
your client does not know what you do, they don't know what they lose if they move on. So you need to make
Well, and
sure in the
that
day
and
to
that
day
comes back to communication. We've seen that a
reporting.
number of times
Mm-hmm.
as well, where
Yep.
where we had one client where they lost a client. And they lost the client because the client said, "Well, I haven't called you in 6 months. I don't, and he's like,
Who are you?
and then they said, that's
Who are you?
what am I paying you for? I said, what am I paying you for? And he said, well, you're paying me to not have to call me over the last 6 months, right? Like, that's the thing you're paying me for. And
Mm-hmm.
they lost the client, and then it was, six, and when we said to him, I said, well, just stay in touch
Yeah.
and wait and see what happens. And
Mm-hmm.
then 6 to 12 months later, they're calling back up and they're like, "Hey, everything's broken. We don't know
And
what
why
to
is it
do."
broken?
And
And
it's like,
that's because you did a great job. You just
right.
didn't tell them you
You
were doing
didn't
a great job. You got to
communicate
brag
that
on
you were doing
yourself
a
a
great
bit.
job.
Exactly. And
Absolutely.
I think that even goes into kind of our marketing strategy, not to pivot it too hard, but when it comes to those workshops from then on, what I do, if it's pretty clear that I'm talking to someone, they love their MSP, that's awesome. Or they're just not in a position where we want to keep the discussion, that's good. We want
Yeah.
them to value IT and be in a good spot because I know if it gets out of their hands, they're going to call me. But what we do from then on is you send some content, you send some educational material, maybe you send a little interview that you did with somebody, or
Yep.
hey, here's what's going on with Microsoft 365, and you keep yourself communicating on both sides of the relationship so that they know when something goes wrong, you are the person with the answers because you've been getting them the answers and feeding them the answers for so long. If you're in a local region, I'm in small town East Texas. I work on a national basis, but I'm in small town East Texas. IT just caught up to East Texas. It's
Yeah.
great. We love it. I'm serious. And Jeff, you're New York, right? Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. We've
Okay.
had
So
IT here for a while.
yeah. Exactly. Well, anyways, you get the idea. So, but from then on, what it becomes is, okay, there's a huge local need for advanced IT
Mm.
because we've established ourselves, we've been in the region, we have those relationships. IT is a small town. If somebody knows you, they're going to refer you over. And we've had several big local people where 10 years ago they weren't a fit, and that was okay. But now all of a sudden they need figure out if they need Nutanix or Hyper-V, and we're the Nutanix people in the area. So having those relationships and playing the long game is going to do good on both the retaining side, but also on the prospecting side.
Yeah, no, I think that's brilliant. So, look, how do people get started working with you, Peyton? What's the best way to set up a workshop, to engage with you? What's the process?
Sure. So, pretty simply, what I would love to do is I want to hear, I keep talking about relationship, I keep talking about communication. Let's get some time to chat. Let's get a Zoom call. You can schedule free consultation. I think we've got a link set up. Yeah, right there. It says free
There
consultation.
you
That's
go.
great. Just put that you're an MSP in there, put your information, and I'll get in touch with you. We'll have a Zoom call. Maybe it's 30 minutes, maybe it's 45 minutes. And we can talk first about who are you? What are you? What are your goals? What are you doing? These conversations that you should be having with your clients, we're going to have that discussion because I can understand better why you want to work with us or why we would want to work together in the first place. From then, we will figure out what a plan is. Maybe it's a monthly, you need this set amount of hours. Everything we do is in hours. So, and in 15-minute increments. And if we go with a retainer, then you get the rocket chat, you get the hours, you get the pre-sales marketing. If you want us to do a discovery for someone, we'll do that for
Hmm.
free, one a month for free. And all these little things, and we'll talk about what package fits you. Or maybe you're in a position where, and we're getting a little pitchy here, but maybe you're in a position where you can't do a monthly or a retainer or anything like that. I'm rolling out a new thing and I'm really excited about it. It's a one-time 60-day engagement where you get this many hours, 15, 20, 25. And what can do for you is you can go to your clients. You can have this conversation of saying, hey, we're doing a great job taking care of you guys. I want to do all of this stuff because it's really important. We brought in these guys or we expanded our team and we're going to make you the happiest people ever. You can choose to pass on that buck, you can do it yourself, but we can do that to test the relationship on the back end between us. So schedule a consultation, we'll have a chat, see what your priorities are, and then go for there.
Sounds awesome, Peyton. That's great. And then we have the event, and we mentioned one more time, coming up on February 27th. If you could put
Yes.
that in on the screen and in the chat. So go register for this if you haven't already. And
Mm-hmm.
Peyton, what do you hope people get out of this training day that we're having on the 27th?
I hope that they build some connections to where they can learn to grow as business owners. I think Start, Grow, Manage. I talk with a lot of MSPs, and I'm being very genuine here. Start, Grow, Manage does a great job of developing business owners. There's so many engineers out here who are an engineer. They worked for somebody, they
Yeah.
started a company, but they don't know how to run a business, and it kind of breaks. It really, you become friends with these people and you think if you could just do this, you'd be successful. I can see it. And Start, Grow, Manage does a great job of not only educating you on how to become that person, but surrounding you with people who are thinking like that. What's the old adage? You're the five closest people to you. Well, you're the five
Mm.
closest businesses to you. And I think that brings you to the next level. And I'm also excited because I'm going to be there and I look forward to meeting you. I think I'll have a booth. I'll talk at some point and very fun. We've got a secret promotion coming. There may be some sort of giveaways involved that we're working on that I'm really excited. So also keep
Who
that in
who
mind.
who doesn't love a secret promotion
Secret
with
promotions.
giveaways? I mean, the world is driven, Peyton, by secret promotions and giveaways.
Exactly.
So I
Yep.
I can't wait, right?
And
Personally.
I'll say on the scale of teddy bear to rocket ship, it's closer to the rocket ship as far as giveaways go. So I'm pretty excited. So
Well, now you're really whetting my appetite, right? Are we going up
exactly.
into space? I mean, that's going to
Yeah,
be fun.
exactly.
So
Shooting for the stars.
if you want to find out, join us on the 27th. And Peyton, it has been a joy speaking with you and learning more about your business and perspective. I love how we are sort of developing this concept of the business solution provider and moving out of this just being infrastructure, which to me sounds like such a hard place to be. So
Really powerful concept.
yeah, and it's exciting to see how you can support people. So again, Peyton, thank you very much. Thank you for listening, and we will see you here next week when we talk to Adam Walter from Humanize IT. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a wonderful Thursday afternoon.
Thanks for joining us, and a special thanks to our subscribers. Consider becoming one right now and tap into our insights and instincts to help drive your business vision and success. Remember, you didn't start your business to feel frustration. You started it for freedom. We can help you discover the impact, freedom, and wealth you always imagined. Learn more at startgrowmanage.com/learn more.